For this episode, I will wire up an ITT K601A. This is being done as a request. I have a customer who has purchased this KSU, and this will be wired for their application. The particular KSU we're looking at here has multiple slots, and this one will have an interrupter, which is the card sitting on top, and then it'll have 5 ITT K400E line cards. I will run a 25 pair cable from here with a plug on it over to a 25 pair that'll be connected on this side of the block, and it'll have a connector so that they can be shipped easier. Then we will connect 5 25 pair cables to this side of the block, each row, and there'll be 5 lines connected plus the ringer lead. The ITT K601s were not intended to have phones wired directly inside of them. You could wire 2 phones inside the KSU without any problems. The third phone, you run out of leads to put some of the common ground leads and so forth. So it's always better to have an external 66 block. This is a 66 B425 style block. It's made by Reliable. The old Western Electric blocks looked identical to this, and this unit would have a cover over it to hide the wiring. These were normally behind desks or in closets and so forth, where they'd run one cable to a central location and then branch out with 2 or 3 cables as needed. In this application, I'm going to backfeed the telephone lines, the 5 CO lines, into the unit. So I'll use the first 15 pairs, and then the yellow, blue through yellow slate the yellow blue through yellow brown will be vacant. The yellow slate will be the ringer lead, and then the violet blue through violet slate will be the central office lines going into the KSU. I will add a 4 pair IW and a 2 pair IW for the 5 phone lines, so 1 pair will not be used. Then this is a system that can be easily moved at will, or if the customer wants, they can put an extension cable between it, and this can be mounted in one location, and that can be laid on the floor or mounted somewhere else. I will lay down the cables and show the cabling work after I've terminated it. ITT did not make any provisions to attach the cable inside of the control unit with a saddle or anything to hold it, which I thought was a very poor design. So I'm going to take one of the pairs that will eventually be the 5th dial tone going into the system and tie it around the lugs down below, just so that the cable will have enough of a pressure on it so it doesn't drop out of my hands. So what I would be doing is I would take the very first violet blue pair, and that's going to be the telephone company dial tone line going into the KSU, and I'll tie that down to the COT-COR terminal. So that is line 1. Then I will use the violet orange pair for line 2, and again that'll go to the COT-COR. And then violet green will be the 3rd CO line. And then violet brown will be the 4th line, and then violet slate would be line 5, but that's the particular one that I'm using right now to hold my cable up. So that'll be the last one that I terminate. So I will go ahead and terminate the ringer so that all 5 lines will ring on the phone, and that will go to ring ground and ring common. We only need 1 ring ground lead, but in order to make the lines ring on all phones, we need to tie the RC leads together. And the ringer lead is slate yellow or yellow slate pair. So at this point I'm going to try to strap them all together here with the wire. This is hard to not get my head in the camera here. So that's line 2. And this is one of the difficulties with ITT. There's only one single ring common terminal. So as it is, I got 1, 2, 3. I would then take and run a wire between 4 and 5 and splice those together. There are no spare terminals on that block because the intercom that would normally go in here is not being put in. You could use the tip and the ring as a spare terminal because it connects to nothing inside the back plane unless you wish to plug a circuit card in. So I would tie down the first 3 pairs for button number 1 of the 6-button or 10-button telephone set. So we use the white blue as the station tip and ring to the phones, and that will go on to the tip and ring lugs. The white, orange, orange, white pair is the A lead and A ground. So in your normal 6-button or 10-button phone, or any actual real 1A2 phone, the orange-white is the ground that is being shipped through the hold key, the hook switch, and then off to the phone. And then when you press the button in the phone, you're sending that ground back, and in this case it'd be the white-orange pair. Here's one of the other different things that I personally do not care about on the ITT 601 is they're doubling up the A1 and A ground, which is just ground. However, when you do that, you run out of lugs very quickly, and that's why you can only really terminate 2 cables in here. So I'm going to tie down the white brown, which is tip and ring to line number 2. And then the white slate would be the A and A ground. However, the A ground in this particular case will not be used, but it's going to be terminated anyway, because you only need 1 A ground for a single phone. And then we have the lamp, which is the red-blue pair. So lamp, ground, lamp, and again, this is the time we get done with it. You can, again, only terminate really 2 to 3 phones max. And the wire management becomes a real disaster. So line 3 would be the red-orange pair for the CO tip and ring going to the phone. And then the red-green is the A and A1. For those who have never installed 1A2, I'd recommend just taking a cable and hooking up the first line or 2 until you learn how some of this works, because what I'm doing is I've installed probably 200 or more of these professionally back a million years ago when this system was still viable use. There's still an occasional one that I see in the field, but so the red slate, and I will go to the black blue and black orange, And this is for line number 4. And then the lamp ground for line number 4. I repositioned the camera so I would connect up line number 5, which would be the last line on a 6-button telephone set. So we're using the black green for the tip of the ring of line 5 to the phone. The A and A1, of course, is going to be black brown. And then we have 4 pairs left: the yellow, blue, orange, green, and brown. And you never ever cut off your spare leads, because if you want to go back and make a change, in this case, if you wanted to have lines 1, 2, and 3 ring in one phone and lines 4 and 5 on a different phone, you could utilize some of the spare wires here to do that. Here is the KSU after I wired the 25 pair cable to it. There's only 4 pairs left. This makes a very nice clean installation, and all of the bulk wiring will be done at the other connecting block. With the cable terminated, you'll notice there's no slack on the cable, and that is normal for this type of a termination. I ran a Cat 5 4-pair and a quad in for the 5 dial tone lines. They do make 6-pair cable, but I don't know if I have any. I despise the Cat 5 cable, but it is plentiful. I've got the first 25 pair cable wired down, or at least the pairs I need. So I have 15 pairs tied down, and then the yellow slate, which is the bell, and this is cable number 1. You never want to tie the pairs down without a service loop. The way I was trained in the bell system way was you'd leave a service loop for each line key. So in this case it'd be 3 pairs for each service loop, representing lines 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the preliminary test is my wiring is correct and what I've tested works.